first canto, 10th chapter, and the 30th verse. Beautiful. Can you get the top to this harmonium? Could you bring the top from the harmonium, please? Thank you. So we're reading the 30th verse. I don't know who is online because I don't have any access. If there's anybody online, can you let me know?
Yes, Mataji, 5
Good.
people are there.
Okay, thank you very much. And there's no one in front of us. So, verse 30. Eta padam stripam apastapesharam nirasta sauchampata sadhu kurvate yasham kriyat puskara lochana patir najaiva aita abritir hridi sprisham eta padam stripa apashtapa peshalam nirasta sauchambata sadhu kurvate yasham griha puskaralochana patir na jada paiti aritihi ridisprisham eta param stripa apasta peshalam nirashta sauchambata sadhu kurvate yasham griha puskara lokchanam patir na japa paiti ahriti sprisham. Somebody online, please go ahead.
Itaha param stritvam apastapeshalam nirasta saucham bata sadhu kurvate yasham grihat pushkaralochana pratir najatva apaiti arhibiti virhidi sparshan.
Anyone else?
Taha param srivam apastashalam nirasta sucham bata sadhu kurvache yasham grahat puskara lokachana apatir najat apati abri ahriti bir hridis prishan.
Thank you. So we'll do the word for word. Itaha. All these women. Param, highest. Stritvam, womanhood. Apashta peshilam, without individuality. Nirasta, without. Saucham, purity. Bhakta sadhu, auspiciously glorified. Kurvate, do they make yasham, from whose griha, alms, pushkaralochanaha, the lotus-eyed, patihi, husband, najatu, never at any time, apaiti, goes away, ahritibihi, by presentation, ridi, in the heart, risham, and dear. Here's the translation. All these women auspiciously glorify their lives despite their being without individuality and without purity. Their husbands, the lotus-eyed personality of God that never left them alone at home, he always pleased their hearts by making valuable presentations. Manu, feel free to read the translation, please.
These women auspiciously glorified their lives despite their being without individuality and without purity. Their husbands
Prabhupada's purport. The devotees of the Lord are purified souls. As soon as the devotees surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord, sincerely, the Lord accepts them, and thus the devotees at once become free from all material contamination. Such devotees are above the three modes of material nature. There is no bodily disqualification of a devotee, just as there is no qualitative difference between the Ganges water and the unfilthy drain water when they are amalgamate. Can you not speak so much, please? Please. Women, merchants, and laborers are not very intelligent, and thus it is very difficult for them to understand the signs of God or to be engaged in devotional service of the Lord. There are more materialistic and less than them are the Kiratas, the Hunas, the Andras, the Pulindas, the Pupashas, the Aphiras, the Kankas, the Yavanas, the Kashas, etc. But all of them can be delivered if they are properly engaged in devotional service of the Lord. By engagement in the service of the Lord, the designated disqualifications are removed, and as pure souls they become eligible to enter into the kingdom of God. The fallen girls, under the clutches of Brahmana, sincerely prayed to Lord Sri Krishna for their deliverance, and their sincerity of purpose made them at once pure by virtue of devotion. Can you please not talk in front of the microphone? Excuse me. The Lord therefore accepted them as his wives, and thus their lives became glorified. Such suspicious glorification is still more glorified when the Lord placed with them as the most devoted husband. The Lord Jesus, excuse me, can you, hello, please do not talk. I've asked you 10 times. Don't talk. The fallen girls, under the clutches of Amasura, sincerely prayed to Lord Krishna for their deliverance, and their sincerity of purpose made them at once pure by virtue of devotion. The Lord therefore accepted them as his wife, and thus became glorified. Such auspicious glorification was still more glorified when the Lord placed with them as the most devoted husband. The Lord used to live with his 16,108 wives constantly. He expanded himself into 16,108 family portions, and each and every one of them was the Lord himself, without deviation from the original personality of Godhead. The Shruti mantras affirm that the Lord can expand himself into many. As husbands of so many wives, he pleased them all with presentations, even at costly endeavor. He brought a parijata plant from heaven and implanted it at the palace of Satyabhama, one of the principal queens. If, therefore, anyone desires the Lord to become one's husband, the Lord fulfills such desires in full. We'll read the verse again. Ekam param strutvam apashtapeshalam nirastai shausham vada sadhu kundate yashyam priya kuskara lokshana patir najada paiti ahriti biridi sprisham. All these women auspiciously glorified their lives despite their being without individuality and without purity. Their husband, the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, never left them alone or at home. He always pleased their hearts by making valuable presentations. Om Jnana very beautiful verse. It's a continuation of what sometimes here is called the prayers of the ladies who stood on all the roofs of Hastinapur and were, you can say, as Krishna was exiting, they were greeting him and they were glorifying him. Of course, it is not a prayer per se, because the way they were speaking about the Lord is not in the mode of a prayer. When you pray to somebody, you pray directly to them. When you speak about them, then there's a different manner. So when I speak directly to you, I say you and you, both of you. But when I talk about you, I say they, that couple that comes to the temple on Saturday morning. So I speak in the third person. So it's very important to understand that these women who are standing on the roofs of the palaces in Hastinapur are talking about Krishna in the third person. They're not addressing him directly. So this should be understood, because there's a great distinction between the two moods. Like when we say Hare Krishna is it directly to Krishna. If I'm talking about Krishna, it would be Hari Krishna Ha. It would be, Krishna would be like an object in a sentence. But when I speak directly to Krishna, it is direct, and it has to be understood as such. So it's very important to understand the difference, because there's a completely different mood. Especially in bhakti, the most intimate way that we visualize in bhakti is not just about Krishna, but when you hear Krishna speaking to his consort, or Krishna speaking to his sakhas, or Krishna speaking to his parents. This is why when we have this book, this is just a few excerpts from Jiva Goswami's book that he published. No, it's not Jiva Goswami, it's Rupa Goswami. He published 350 poems about Krishna from different poets. He selected here, there, everywhere, and then he organizes the poems in terms of from Krishna's birth, or before his birth, Krishna's childhood, Krishna's different leelas in the different periods. Very, very beautiful. And most of the poems, or many of the poems, I directly said to Krishna, say, Krishna, who do you think you are? You come and then you play with us and then you leave. What is this? It's not just about him, it's directly spoken to him. And then, of course, is the power of, you can say, the power of poetry. It's so beautifully personal. Sometimes, like I said, there are descriptions. I just opened the book by chance. I translated this, by the way. It says, yes, ye will wear wild wreathed flowers, blooms, and the rest. You may assume via your bowers, fish, nuptial, baby, darshan. So when you're looking at Krishna, you can understand what kind of flowers he's wearing. Here he says he wears flowers from the forest. So, and that means he is playing in the kuja. He's in the forest, he's playing in the kuja. So, and it says, no one, my dear Saki, has ever seen such fineness, indeed finesse, in ornaments and dress as on that wedding fest. So they're describing also, and they're going to describe Krishna's wedding fest. So what I wanted to point out in this particular poem is the line, dear Saki. That means one Saki is talking to another Saki. They're not talking to Krishna, you see. So it's the same here. In one of the earlier verses, it said, oh Saki, look. So they're addressing each other, and that's the beauty of that poem. And of course, it says that Krishna heard it, and he's smiling, and he's saying, thank you very much, and then he leaves. Of course, Krishna is hundreds of meters away, or half a mile away. Of course, everybody's heart, super soul is there and super soul is reciprocating. So it's very beautiful. So on the other hand, what we're reading about today is that Krishna has 16,108 wives. So some of these wives were from a noble family, like Satyabhama and Rukmini and so on. They were from a noble family. But most of them, almost I think 16,000, they were taken by Bhamasura and they were used for sexual purposes in his palaces. So they were considered very impure. And because that's, I don't know how somebody can steal 16,000 women and put them in a palace and how this could have even happened. It's inconceivable. Today this cannot happen. You know, maybe 2 or 3 women, but not 16,000. So, but at the last moment, they're praying to Krishna. Krishna, can you save us? This is unbearable, what is happening here. So, and Krishna comes and destroys Bhamasura and takes all the women and puts them in his palace, you know, so this is very famous, of course. So that's why Krishna has so many wives. Then it is pointed out in another verse, Prabhupada points out, that all the wives had something like 100, no, not 100 sons. They all had 10 sons. And altogether, there was something like 10 million children. All the children again they were duplicating and also had that many children. So it was something like 10 million children. I can't remember the figure, but in the millions. So this is of course inconceivable. And one of the reasons it is inconceivable is when we think of the narrative of this story, like, I don't know if this is the time to use it. What do you call that? Screwdriver? Electric screwdriver. So, Chupkalo. Yeah, Chupkalo. Do you have any idea? You may not know all the Bhagavatam stories, but do you have any idea how long Krishna lived in Dwarka because it was taken over by the sea? Any idea? Dwarka was taken over, was put in the sea. There was no Dwarka. You know how many years later that Krishna started that it was done? Most people have no idea. Only 36 years. In 36 years there was no Dwarka. So we have to remember that when we're looking at these narratives, like I always say, don't just look at one verse. That doesn't make sense. You have to look at the entire context. And you have to see, why is this spoken? How is this spoken? And what are we learning from it about what happened before and what's going to happen in the past? So one of the things we're learning is the great irony of Krishna's event. Because in the end, everybody's destroyed. Krishna is also destroyed. Everybody's destroyed, including his wives and children and grandchildren. Nobody can even conceive of it. And you might say, is this God? How can this happen if this is God? Take a little sip of water if you want to say something. How God can do this, feel free. It's quite amazing, isn't it? What I am suggesting is that all these narratives that are recited in the Srimad Bhagavatam are what are called Bauma Lila. Bauma means bhumi. They are on this earthly plane. They are actually in the world of samsara. They're not in the higher world of nirvana, heaven, or golok, whatever you want to call it. They're taking place on bhumi, bhumi loka. And these are bhumi lila, or Bauma, what they call Bauma Lila. It's better to say Bauma Lila. So this is why the pastimes beginning, they have a middle, they have an end, just like everything in the material world. But there's a very beautiful verse. It says, that of that which is eternal, there is no end. And that which is temporary, there's actually no existence. So we can understand that, particularly in relation to our body. Can you see? Like, your body, maybe today it's 28 or 38 years old, but you know that's not going to be 138 years old because it's a temporary amalgamation of tattvas. All the tattvas are coming together, and the tattvas, all the elements together, including your mind, they're allowing this body to be here for a little while. But after all, it's not here because that is not the real you. It is not the real, it's not actually reality. So what we also see here that in this story, if we can, if we can apply it just to we can apply it to the story, that what happens is you can see the pastimes in this world, Krishna's pastimes are coming and going. But it is to show, not that Krishna doesn't exist anymore, but that Krishna appears and disappears at his own will. And if we can understand it, just like Krishna's birth, how traumatic that his brothers or sisters are all killed, and somehow or other he's taken by his father and taken across the Jamuna and brought to Mother Yashoda's house. It's astonishing. You know, he could also have disappeared, like his brother, the 8 or so before him. So the whole pastime, they have this cadence of coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. And that is meant to teach us the nature of reality in this world, coming and going. Now what you say, I guess you say in the anajana, the cable anajana, coming and then going. So, and the teachings, of course, of Bhagavad Gita are very much in terms of how to understand who you are if your body is coming and going. You are the witness of your body, your consciousness. Just like when you have a toothache, your consciousness tells you that your body, in your mouth, there's a toothache. Otherwise, you wouldn't know who would report it. But because you are conscious, the information is there. So beautiful, isn't it? So that consciousness is you. The rest is not you. But that doesn't mean we don't take care of your body. We take very good care of it. Very good care of your mind and your body. Because the more you take care of it, the less trouble it will give you. You know, if you neglect it and you get ending up with TB and all kinds of diseases, then it's horrible. So you take very good care of your body. This is one thing. When I first came to the movement, people would all say, "You're not this body, Prabhu." If you say, "Oh, I don't feel," "Oh, you're not this body." But they would very seldom say, "But you have a body, so let's take care of it." There's no sense of humor. I was quite shocked. You know, I thought, why such negativity? You know, so I always promote, please take care of your body, have a proper diet, eat in a regular way, eat the food that are healthy, you know, get proper sleep, do everything in a regulated way. Prabhupada also emphasizes regulation. So that way, it's easier when we regulate it that we can think of Krishna or the higher, we can say of the Godhead, because whether you were following Krishna or whether you have another name for God, you know, the Thakur or the deity or whatever you want to call God. God is God by any other name. That's another thing we may understand. That super soul in your heart, that is in everybody's heart. And it doesn't matter what you call it. You can call it a Sanskrit name or a Hindi name or no name, or you can say that's my self talking to myself. And that's really what it is. It's your actual self with a capital S talking to yourself. So, very important. See here that the ladies on the roof are being glorified. No, the ladies on the roof are not glorified. The ladies on the roof glorified Krishna in Dwarka and all the wives he had. They mentioned some of the wives, some of the children, some of the grandchildren. So we are impressed with this because it says, even though those wives were not qualified because they had been used, you can say, immorally by this immoral, demoniac person, but at the same time, they were pure because Prabhupada says in the very, very beginning, devotees of the Lord are purified souls. As soon as the devotees surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord sincerely, the Lord accepts them, and thus the devotees at once become free from all material contamination. Now, isn't that beautiful? So, we don't have to think, oh no, I'm so fallen, how will Krishna, how will God help me? Prabhupada says we've been here millions of lives, or maybe less. But if I've been here so many lifetimes, how come I never woke up to recognize the Godhead? Why didn't I listen to the God within my heart? But when we begin to listen, then we awaken. And then when we awaken, then we change the patterns in our life. This is very obvious. Just like you said so beautiful in the half lotus, you know. And so it's all these very simple habits are very good, because when our body is doing like a mudra or doing one of these positions, it helps the mind to calm down. When you just sprawled out on the sofa, the mind is also sprawled out, you see. So when we sit properly, and we can hear properly, and we have, you know, we have intention to hear, then everything is coming together. So here then, Krishna says, he's actually spoiled all those life. He says he never ever left them alone, day or night. Day or night, and he brought beautiful gifts for them. And it mentions the Parijati flower. There's a very famous incident. Satyabhama, she had a beautiful garden, and she wanted Parijata, which is only available in heaven. And Krishna had to go steal it from Indra, I think. He had to go, and he managed to get it, and he brought it back. And there's a very beautiful end to that story, and many of you will not know it. But because Satyabhama was a very demanding wife. She's very like, hey, do this, do this. And the humble wife was Rukmini. Rukmini was always like this, very shy. Krishna used to, Mataji said to her, why are you so shy? Who do you think I am? I'm just a child, I'm just nobody. Nobody even knows who my parents are. I'm an unwanted child. Why are you like this? Then she fainted. Then he started joking about himself. She fainted. And Krishna said, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't talk to you like that, because she was so sensitive. But Sambhavati's garden and Rukmini's garden were next to each other. So can you imagine where Krishna planted a tree? Right on the edge of Sambhavati's garden. So when the blooms would come, where would they fall? In Rukmini's garden. What do you think of this? We all bowed down. And there was no argument about it. But isn't that beautiful? This is just so beautiful. So you can see all these little details. They give a very high sense of humor about who is God. God acts like an ordinary person with two arms and two legs and one face, not four heads in one direction and one up. No, like ordinary human. And yet, what he does, when it is necessary, he acts like a child. He can lift Govardhan. How can he lift Govardhan? It doesn't even make sense, but he lifts it as if it were a mushroom, just like if it's a mushroom. There you go. So that's Krishna. He shows his power, but he does not show it too much, because then there's no charm. If you have a husband who's always showing his power, then you have to kneel down all day and offer your obeisances, then there's no relationship. He has to be very simple. And, you know, says, hey, I'm hungry. Is my meal ready? He says, you're so impatient, wait. You know, it has to be a charming relationship. Otherwise, in every relationship, there has to be a little tension. If there's little tension, there's charm. If the person is always like Rukmini, it's not as charming as with his other wife, you see, because he doesn't argue. So these are some of the details. So what I wanted to point out too, so the first point I wanted to make today is that lately people have been, talking about these these prayers to Lord Krishna, this is okay, but try to understand that these are ladies talking to each other. Oh Saki, oh Saki, oh Saki. So it's in a very different mood. But the context of the conversation doesn't even suit those ladies. They're speaking all this philosophy and all this you can say theology. How come? But that is put in their mouths by whoever is writing the Srimad Bhagavatam. You can see that. This is put in the mouth by Shukadev and Srila Goswami. The whole purpose of the Srimad Bhagavatam is for us to understand Krishna's two Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna you saw Bhagavan. So that's the whole point. So when you're reading this, you have to have a little sense of what is you can say the literary meaning here, and what is the literature doing, and why is it like this? So sometimes some speakers, they don't do this, and sometimes I don't have a chance to comment on it, otherwise I would enlighten our audience. And another thing is lately that somebody was talking about Krishna's flute. They were mentioning that there's 5 things you should remember at the time of death about Krishna, and you go to Krishna. So Krishna's form, Krishna's sound, Krishna's face, Krishna's qualities, and I don't know, the flute was one of the elements. But
Leela.
Oh yeah, the Veena, Krishna, yes. So all the different elements. So they were talking about Krishna's flute, and then they were mentioning the different notes, what they represent. And I wanted to make again a note, but I didn't have a chance to go online. But they were talking about all the different notes, and especially about the 8th note. They say the 8th note can only be heard by Srimati Radharani. So I was thinking, do people in the audience even know what it means, the 8th note? Like if I ask you, do you know what the 8th note is? Of course not. You don't know what is the 8th note. I'm sure you don't know the 8th note. I can ask virtually anybody and nobody knows. I happen to know because I've studied music theory. So I know what is the 8th note. The 8th is 7, the octave is 7 notes, and then you go to the next octave, like here I have 2 or 3 octaves. You go to the next octave, it's exactly the same note, but 1 octave higher. I'll make it sounding for you. So the 8th note is again the first note of the octave. So it means 7 and 1. 7 and 1 is 8. But if you don't understand that, it's not good. Here I played 3 C's, 3 octaves. All exactly the same note, but on a different level. This is all C, 4 of them. So only Radharani can hear this 8th note, but the 8th note means that the first note of that lower octave has to be there. You see what I mean? So that it becomes like a double. You say, can I reach over? Yeah. Here's 2 C's. So she can hear this. What the gopis hear is the 5th note. I'll let you hear the 5th note. Very beautiful. Complete harmony. This is not so much harmony, here harmony. And here, complete integration. So I just wanted to point it out to my audience because raga, this all dealing with raga, is a very complicated subject matter. You cannot learn it in 1 hour, not even in 10 hours or 100 hours. It's so complicated. The point is that in ordinary, just in Western music, you say 7 notes in an octave. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. Like this. And in Hindi has different names, but it's the same idea. But the way it is used is very different. Like in Western music, the way it goes up, the 7 notes, it goes up in a certain scale. It has to go exactly the 7 notes going down, you go down. But in Indian music, you go up one way and you can make slight changes going down. So it's far more charming. They create tension. They create very beautiful anticipation. Just like it says, the seventh note, before the octave, it says the seventh note invokes nature. It invokes the entire field of nature, the rain, the sun, the moon, the flowers, the star, completely overwhelming. And that is anticipating what Srimati Radharani is going to experience. You can say on almost a cosmic level. We cannot enter into it. The gopis are very fortunate. They can hear the fifth note. It's also called the note. It's a different birds sing the note. This is the cuckoo sings the fifth note, and they call it in music the erotic note because it promotes beautiful alliance. So there's certain harmonies that produce a feeling of peace, and a certain note that if you play it and you don't resolve it in a higher note, it leaves you dissatisfied. It's like jazz, some of you have heard jazz. Jazz is it can be very irritating. It's not like beautiful symphony. It's irritating and has different rhythm, and it became very popular in the 50s, and it's not so popular now. But it's very clever, you see. So, and then jazz is also all of these sort of a little bit, and then there's other music that, you've heard the word reggae, and the word they adopted from raga. Instead of calling it raga, they call it reggae. Isn't it interesting? So reggae also is far more complicated. So I just wanted to mention those things because it's very, very beautiful. So I'm going to read some of the effects of the different notes on different personality. What time is it now? Oh, that cannot be better. So it says, demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, meditation is broken on the first note, and they forget everything in astonishment, and Lord Anantadev sways his head like in hypnosis. So this is the first note. As soon as you hear the first note of them come, completely intoxicated, the demigods, just the first note. Then it said the second note makes the Jamuna flow backwards. As soon as Krishna plays the second note, this one, then the Jamuna comes towards Krishna, it flows backward. Wherever Krishna is, it flows towards Krishna. That's the second note. Then it says the third tune makes the moon stops moving. The third note, and the moon stops moving. Can you imagine? The fourth tune, or note, makes the cows run to Krishna, and they get stunned listening to his flute. The fourth note. And then the fifth note, I told you. The fifth note attracts the gopis and make them come running to him. The sixth note makes the stones melt and creates the autumn season. And then we have one more that I mentioned. The seventh note is manifesting all seasons. The eighth note is meant exclusively for Srimati Radharani. It takes her name and calls for her, and she comes running to him, putting her cloth the wrong way and putting faulty mascara. Isn't that beautiful? So these are, and there's far more elaborate descriptions of this. Different birds, they also respond different ways, but this is a very nice list, and I wanted you to hear this and try to understand that sound, Krishna's sound is called Shabda Brahman. It's Shabda Brahman, and this Shabda Brahman is spiritual, and that's why when the demigods, or the Jamuna, or the moon, or the cows, or the gopis, or the stones, or the seasons hear the note, they all are deeply affected. But only Radha can hear the eighth note, because that's a double. That things becoming completely in a different realm. Only Radha hears the eighth note. That is why it says when Krishna blows his flute, he has different tunes for each cow. Each cow he can call with the sound of his flute. He can call also each gopi with a variation of his flute. And then he can call, of course, Radharani with the double note, and then she comes running. But it also has, of course, a meaning for us, because when we hear this music, especially if you're a little aware of the rhetoric behind the different notes, very astonishing. And that's why sometimes, especially in the old days, we would go to a symphony and we hear like Mozart or Beethoven and we would start crying. So beautiful, beautiful. The music, you start crying. You see. I'm sure all of you have heard different types of music that makes you cry. So very beautiful, and of course Krishna has many different flutes. The most common is the little venu, the little bamboo, and not so common, more common of course, silver, gold, etc. Very beautiful, but the bamboo is the favorite flute. Bamboo is the favorite because it's available everywhere. Of course, sometimes people ask, does nobody else play the flute? Is only Krishna? No, everybody plays the flute. But Krishna is the only flautist. You see? Just like you'd be calling the lotus flower, we call it, what do you call it again? In Sanskrit. But it's pankaja. It's called pankaja, and panka means mud, growing out of the mud. But thousands of plants grow out of the mud. But the word pankaja is reserved for the lotus, because it's the most beautiful thing growing out of the mud. So the word Krishna as a supreme flautist, because he is the only one who can create these effects. Isn't that beautiful? So that's one of the very special features of Krishna. And that's one of the things, at the time of death, you can remember any of the pastimes, even one incident, or his flute, or Krishna being compared to a flower. There's 10,000 things you can invoke. It's not like only one thing. It's not like only chanting Hare Krishna mantra. There's so many things. So these are all very beautiful things that we can meditate on, and it makes our life successful. We don't say that we meditate at the time of death, because then it's too late to practice. We practice now. And this is why I see, your little family sitting here. You're coming to remind yourself of how precious life is. It's so precious. And if you use it properly, then it will pass in the most beautiful way, and you go to a higher place. And this is what we want. And this will come automatically when we have attachment to the Godhead. So I'm thanking my audience for being there. I don't have access to the Zoom pictures, but if anybody has any remarks, first in the audience here, if there's anything you want to say, feel free, If there's anybody online who wants to make a remark, then we will end our class on Tat Sat. May we all be enlightened by that. Manu, are you there?
Yes, Mataji.
Any remark? Any short statement?
Yes, Mataji. In Hindi, is it Sari Ga Ma Pa? That is also same as what you are saying in English?
Yes. Yeah, those are the notes. Those are the notes that you call in Sanskrit or in Hindi. Those are the notes, seven notes. And the 7 notes, you can also call it 12 notes, because 5 of those have the ability to go up half a step. 2 don't have the ability because they're already half a step from the other one. So 5 can make a little step and make the addition. We say sharp or flat in English. You can make it sharp or flat. So they say 12. And then the beauty is that I realized yesterday that the 13th note, if you say 12th note, the 13th note is Radharani. And in Sanskrit, 13 is a lucky number. There's so much evidence mathematical evidence of 13 being a lucky number, completely opposite from the West. So if 13 comes your way, you're blessed, and it's Radharani's fruit. So thank you very much, all of you.
Mataji, little more. Discuss a little bit. Many people say that, Krishna has so many wives, and so they talk a little wrongly. But I always say he's a very good wife management he has. Are you able to manage even one? Any comment on that?
I can't quite hear what you're saying, but if you're saying, can he manage all his wives on any planet? Of course he can. How could Krishna not manage? That is the whole point. If he can manage the whole universe, Krishna is Purusha, but he's also in charge of Prakriti. So he manages everything. He actually manages my body, you see, of course, in a distant way. But he is the supreme manager. Yes, if that's your question.
Beings are not able to manage even one wife.
Exactly. We can't even manage her own mind. So beautiful. And that's why you don't manage your mind. You let it rest. Like when we chant Hare Krishna, our mind is not working, or that it should not be working. We let the mind rest so we can hear the mantra. So beautiful. That's our practice every day. Every day, our sadhana is our abhyas. We say, practice Shibboleth. Abhyas, Ananda, abhyas, whatever. Practice Shibboleth. So that is the Hare Krishna mantra. So thank you very much.
One more